Well, Frank, now we know what 12 teams made it into the college football playoff, Georgia being number 2. But first, I just want to hear your reaction when you saw Sunday when the 12-team playoff was announced.
I think they got it right, Alessandra, based on what they had to deal with. Now, look, when you went from 4 to 12, you knew there were going to be some growing pains. We've already learned a few things. Number one, there's probably not enough teams. You probably need to get to 16 at some point. They're talking about 14. You need to get to 16. So Alabama and Miami and Ole Miss and South Carolina don't get left out. I think they're all teams that could battle an Oregon. So I think you need to get bigger. I don't think you need to allow seeds to have automatic or conference champions to have automatic high seeds. I like automatic qualifiers. I like the fact if you win your conference, you get in, but you shouldn't be seeded that way. So we've learned that. But given the rules they had, I think they got it about right. It's not as sexy, the fact that you got SMU and Indiana and Boise State in there, and you'd rather have Alabama and Ole Miss and Miami. But given what they were working with, I think they got it right.
Okay, let's talk more about the Bulldogs, the number 2 seed. By the way, what a phenomenal game in the SEC Championship. That was the type of game that we deserved to see, that we wanted to see, and it came out as one of probably the best games in all of college football.
No question. It was a fantastic game. And I'll say this, I told you this last week about Georgia. People play them close, but Georgia knows how to win. Georgia understands how to win games at the end, and they found a way here. Now, they lost Carson Beck. That's a big deal. If he can't play, and it was weird how they lost him. I was surprised Georgia didn't try to kick a field goal at the end of the half, even a 60-yarder, rather than the Hail Mary, and the Hail Mary got him hurt. But the bottom line is Gunnar Stockton came in, played very well. He brought a little energy to him, and Georgia moves along. But without Carson Beck, if they don't have him, and remember, they get a bye, so they've got a few weeks to hopefully get him back. But if Georgia doesn't have him, that's a significant happening, Alessandra. It really is.
And the Florida Gators, they are bowl bound, which, like we've said so many times this season, we never even thought they were going to be able to get to this point. But they got the 7 wins, and they are still playing this season, or for this post-season. What do you like about their matchup? And, you know, how excited are you as a Florida Gators alum?
Yeah, I would have loved to see them come to Jacksonville. I wish they could have done it. Jacksonville people would have loved to have had Florida Duke. They wound up with Ole Miss Duke, which is a darn good game here at the Gator Bowl. But as for the Gators, this could not have been any better. They're playing in Tampa. They're close to home. They're playing a Tulane team that I think they'll beat. Tulane's not going to have their quarterback. He's going to the portal. So I think Florida's going to end the season with 4 consecutive wins. And they're going to have an 8-win, as long as they win the game. They haven't won it yet. But if they win that game and they're a double-digit favorite, they're going to end the season with 8 wins. Who saw that coming 2 months ago? Give Billy Napier credit. Give that Florida program credit. They found a way to rebound when nobody thought they could, Alessandra. Great finish for the Gators. It really is.
And speaking of the Gators, it was just announced that Jack Pyburn, who's a Bulls grad, is entering the transfer portal. One of the best defensive players for the Gators this season.
Yeah, you know, I'm surprised by that. Excuse me. But what happens in the portal is, or in the NIL world, is players get so much money guaranteed. And then after that, they make the request. They played a lot of defensive ends there. My guess is Jack wanted to play more. My guess is he probably didn't like the money he was getting. And I don't know the details of that. But in the NIL world, when you've got to guarantee people money, if some players get guaranteed more than others, and some players aren't worried about how much playing time they're going to get. I hate it for Jack Pyburn because he's a Florida guy. He grew up rooting for the Gators. He grew up wanting to play for the Gators. He overcame a terrible knee injury. He came on to have a fantastic season for Florida, and I hate that he's not going to be there because I think he's a guy that deserves that senior night next year. Can you imagine Jack Pyburn's senior night, as beloved as he would be, and now he doesn't get to have that, and I hate that for him. But if he moves on, and I heard there's still some talk that he might change his mind, but if he moves on, I hope he does well wherever he goes. He's a good guy. He's a good Jacksonville guy, but I hate it for him that he's not going to get that swan song in Gainesville.
Hey, you never know. Maybe he will decide to take his name out. We'll just have to wait and see. But wrapping up Campus Corner tonight, Frank, can you believe that the conference championships are already done, that basically the season is done? And piggyback on that, who do you think is going to win the national championship?
You know, I tell you, Alessandra, it goes fast, doesn't it? That college season looks like it just started, and, man, it moves along. I tell you what I'm going to do. Even without Carson Beck, I'm not going to come off Georgia. I still think Georgia has the most physical team. They won 2 of the last 3 titles. They understand how to win. Obviously, Oregon is the team. That's the chalk right now. But Georgia's also in a way better bracket. Georgia's in the bracket with Boise and SMU and Indiana. That's the softer of the two brackets, in my opinion. So they got a good draw by being the #2 overall seed. Oregon has a much tougher path. Georgia's the #2 seed. They've got the easier bracket. With or without Carson Beck, I think the Bulldogs win it all.
Well, Bulldogs fans, you are going to love to hear that. Frank, thank you so much. Thank you for watching Campus Corner.